Welcome to The Explainer. We love breaking down complex stuff, and today we're diving into a challenge that can really trip up development teams in Saudi Arabia: ZATCA e-invoicing. How do you get compliant without basically losing half a year of your life?
All right, let's get right into it. If you're a developer, you know this feeling, right? You've got these awesome features you want to build, but first, you have to get through this maze of government regulations. ZATCA e-invoicing is a perfect example, and honestly, it's a minefield where a lot of projects just get stuck. So what are the biggest traps here? So first up, you've got these cryptographic nightmares. And I'm not exaggerating. We're talking cryptographic stamping, super finicky XML validation rules, and then trying to maintain this perfect hash chain. For a lot of teams, this isn't just a small bump in the road. It's a full-on security maze that can bring the whole project to a grinding halt. It turns something that should be simple, like invoicing, into this nightmare. And all that complexity, it leads straight to the next huge problem: time. I mean, we're talking months. Instead of innovating and building cool stuff, your team is buried in these dense, complicated spec documents. A typical integration takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Think about that. That's a whole quarter, maybe even half a year, where you're not shipping features that your customers actually care about.
And on top of all that, the stakes are just crazy high. One single mistake, a tiny error in your previous invoice hash, the PIH, or maybe you mess up the invoice counter value, the ICV sequencing, and bam, you're non-compliant. What does that mean? It could mean penalties from ZATCA, and it definitely means you're scrambling to push emergency fixes when you least need the stress. It's a high-risk, high-stress situation for sure.
Okay, so that's the problem. But what if you could just bypass all of that? What if there was a way to get all the compliance you need without going through that development hell? This is where this idea of a developer's shortcut comes into play. The promise is simple: stop reinventing this ridiculously complex wheel. And the answer is this: a single, comprehensive SDK that's built to handle every single piece of the ZATCA puzzle. We're talking everything from the initial CSID onboarding to generating both B2B and B2C invoices, handling all the credit and debit notes, and even managing the compliance reporting. The whole idea is to give you this battle-tested engine that takes care of all that tricky cryptographic stuff for you.
So how does this actually work? Well, the goal is to take that whole 3 to 6 month nightmare and boil it down to something you can do in just a few hours. And it really does boil down to just 3 simple steps. Step 1, you plug in your company details and it generates your certificate signing request, or CSR. Step 2, the SDK takes that and automatically handles the compliance checks with ZATCA's platform. This is the part that usually just needs an OTP from the Fatura portal. And then step 3, you start submitting invoices. That's literally it. You're done. You're live.
Okay, but a huge question for any developer is always going to be, will this work with my stack, right? Integration is always a concern. Does this force you into a whole new architecture? The answer here is a pretty firm no.
And the reason is, it's all built on a standard RESTful API. That means it's completely tech agnostic. It doesn't care what you're using. You building a mobile app with Flutter or native iOS, a web app with React or Django, a desktop app with Electron, or are you trying to integrate this with a massive enterprise system like SAP or Oracle? It doesn't matter. If your system can make a simple HTTP request, you're good to go.
All right, this brings us to a really important choice you have to make: deployment. And this is where the flexibility really shines, because you're not locked in to just one way of doing things.
Basically, you've got 2 main paths you can take. First, there's the Cloud API. This is for when you want a super fast, zero setup launch. You pay a monthly subscription and all the maintenance and updates are handled for you. Easy. But what if you need total control over your data, or you just hate recurring fees? Then you can go for the on-premise license. It's a one-time payment, you own the software forever, and you run it on your own servers. You get to choose what works for you.
So let's just boil it all down to the most important point. Every single day your team spends wrestling with compliance documents is a day they are not building value for your customers. The entire point of a solution like this is to completely flip that equation. Let it handle the compliance burden so you can free up your developers to do what they do best: ship great features.
And really, that's the core takeaway here. What we've looked at is a clear path from a very common, very painful developer problem to a solution that's fast, it's flexible, and it puts you back in control of your own product roadmap. So the real question is, are you ready to make that switch from months to hours? So if this sounds like the shortcut your team has been looking for, you can start checking it out right now. You can literally test drive the API live in your browser, dig into the detailed Swagger docs that have tons of code examples, and even chat directly with technical experts on WhatsApp if you get stuck. Thanks for watching The Explainer.